So I want to talk to you about barriers, and I break them up into two categories. I break them up into work barriers and personal life barriers. But what happens when your challenges and your barriers from your personal life happen at the same time that you have a whole lot of barriers going on at work? How do you handle the two of those? And do you handle them well? And that was a question that I never really asked myself. So in October of 2006, I deployed, and 24 hours after I had left the States, I arrived in a place called Camp Beering, Kuwait. And after arriving there, I got called into the operations center, and I had a Red Cross message waiting for me. My wife, who at the time was 7 months pregnant, and I had lost our first son, David. So because of a great mentor and great leadership, I was back on a plane and was able to be by my wife's side during the stillbirth, and was home long enough to bury our son, David, at Fort Richardson National Cemetery, and then went right back to Iraq. It was right after arriving into Iraq, my first night mission, that I got hit with my first IED. So basically, I had a whole lot of challenges on my personal side and my work side coming at me all at once, and it dealt with death. And the way that I handled that was probably not the best way most people would handle it, but I chose to accept the fact that I was going to die, because I was scared that if I didn't accept that fact, that I wouldn't be able to be there for my brothers, the ones that I served next to. So I lived that way for 18 months. February 2009, I was medically retired, and let's say the least, I was relieved. I didn't want to go, but after I had accepted the fact that I had to go, I was looking forward to some quiet in the next chapter of my life. What I didn't expect is that the hits from life would keep coming. In spring of 2009, we had our second miscarriage. In the fall of 2009, my wife was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called a Floaties tumor, and it happened to be in her left breast. So at that point, it was a full mastectomy, treatment, and then it was a matter of waiting. All I was doing was actually creating little boxes so that I could put myself in situations and control the outcome, because on this other side of life, I couldn't control anything. And pretty soon, year after year of creating these boxes and putting myself into these situations, I didn't see anything. I didn't have any joy. I didn't have any happiness. My wife and I argued an awful lot if we were talking, and it just wasn't a happy life. And that same mentor who helped me get on the plane to get back home to be next to my wife during the stillbirth had taken his own life. It had been a while since we had talked. We had kind of fallen out of touch over the years, and I had no idea he was in that place. But that was the exact same place that I was, and that was at the exact same time. He and I had been through a lot. He had been through every adult thing that I had been through in my life, my marriage, my career, the explosions that I was in. He was a brother, and I took it hard. But what I came out of there and realized is that I don't want to be that statistic. For me, he was number 13. I've lost 13 friends to suicide since November 2008. And I didn't want to be somebody else's 13 or 8 or whatever it was. So that was the day that I realized I needed change. And later that night, I was watching Rocky VI. And I've seen it a number of times, but I couldn't sleep that night. And there's a line in that movie when he's talking to his son, and he says, life isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and get back up and keep moving. And what I realized is I just stopped getting back up by creating those boxes, by isolating myself, by not reaching out to anybody and saying, hey, I'm having a hard time. I had just continually isolated myself to a point where I didn't talk to anyone.